Russia demands Ukraine not to join NATO and leave 4 Ukrainian sovereign regions completely. Such an ultimatum for the start of peace negotiations was voiced by Putin. The leaders of Ukraine's allied countries called such demands unacceptable. The Russian dictator's rhetoric suggests that Moscow does not want the war to end. According to US Vice President Kamala Harris, this is not a Russian peace plan, but a plan for Ukraine's surrender. The same opinion is shared in the European Union.
Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine shows no real interest in peace. Putin's unacceptable demands aim to legitimize the invasion and undermine peace efforts, while Russia rearms and prepares for a long war. The aggressor cannot dictate the conditions for a ceasefire. Josep Borrell, High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy on X social network.
Putin made his statement on the eve of the Global Peace Summit. Following the event, the participants signed a joint communique. It contains 3 key points: the return of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to Ukraine's control, ensuring free and safe navigation in the Black and Azov Seas, as well as the release of all prisoners of war through a full exchange and the return to Ukraine of all Ukrainians illegally deported by Russia. At its core, the Global Summit is a platform created to launch the peace process, but today there is no talk of either negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow or freeze in hostilities.
We're here today to help bring an end to a brutal and unjust war, a conflict that has shattered lives and displaced millions. The echoes of Russia's war of aggression reverberate across the globe. Energy prices have soared, food prices have exploded, and it is a cautionary tale for the entire world. Is it right that a larger country can invade and take territory from a smaller neighbor? The answer is, of course, no.
Clearly a call for Russia to cease its war of aggression and its attacks on civilians and civilian facilities. And a lot of religious leaders are taking very important initiatives in parallel. And I think increasing the pressure in this context to have a truce on the Russian side is extremely important. I suggest that in parallel, we build all together a follow-up in order to enlarge the circle of countries joining our efforts, to avoid the big divide of the world and to avoid, I would say, the temptation of other initiatives, and not to compete in terms of initiative, but just to have a follow-up, adding countries and not dividing the circle.
It is true, peace in Ukraine cannot be achieved without involving Russia. But let us not forget that, as we speak, Russia continues to relentlessly wage its brutal war. We all know Russia could end this war today or at any given moment once it ceases its onslaught and withdraws troops from Ukraine.
Leaders and representatives of 101 countries and international organizations came to the summit in Switzerland. Russia was not among them. It was not invited to the event.
We are ready to look for ways, including through those countries that have a dialogue with the Russian Federation, so that these developments are transferred and communicated to representatives of the aggressor country. If the aggressor country stops issuing ultimatums and starts listening to this position, we can say that at the next second summit, Russian representatives can be involved in a certain format.
The majority of participants in the peace summit support Kyiv's position, but representatives of Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Kenya said that, in their opinion, the summit would have been more productive if a Russian delegation had arrived in Switzerland.
If Russia was interested in peace, there would be no war. We must decide together what a just peace means for the world and how it can be achieved in a truly lasting way. The UN Charter is the basis for us. And then, when the action plan is on the table, agreed by all and transparent for the peoples, then it will be communicated to the representatives of Russia. And so that at the second peace summit we can fix the real end of the war.
Also, Jordan and Iraq have removed their signatures from the final communique after the summit. Preparation for the second peace summit must take months, not years, said Ukraine's president. It is yet unknown when the second summit will be, but it must be decisive, as said by the major participants. According to Bloomberg, the next event could be held in autumn of 2024. Reported by Halina Babenko, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.